Empire Fallout Fantastic Four Issue 1 sees the Unseen watching the Avengers' victory over the Kotati, and the Kree and Skrulls finally laying to rest the oldest war in the universe. Down on the ground, the Fantastic Four meet with the arriving Franklin, Val, Wolverine, and Spider-Man, who is busy embarrassing Wolverine about going to the moon. Nakkala and Jo-Ven also arrive, dragging Alicia along with them since Nakkala says she needs to see all of this. As the first family all reunite with one another, Emperor Hulkling arrives and meets the children, who bow to their king. Teddy says that the kids were bred to keep their race's hatred alive, but instead they brought them all together. T'Challa meanwhile thanks Franklin and Val for their efforts at turning the tide in the war as Sequoia is led off by the Alliance guards, saying his plan would have worked if it not been for those meddling kids. Wolverine meanwhile senses someone nearby, knowing that they are all being watched. Thor however already knows, pointing out the Unseen on the ridgeline nearby. Wolverine knows that he doesn't know them but feels like he should, popping his claws, but Thor tells him to stand down since he has crossed paths with the being before and he means them no harm, telling Logan who the Unseen is and how he has taken the duties of Uatu the Watcher. Ben knows that the Watcher would only ever show up if important things were going down, making the Thing wonder if this is all happening now or if it's just because they are in his backyard. Reed, Cap, and Iron Man meanwhile question Sequoia, asking him where he got all of his weapons from, since they most certainly aren't Kotati, being that they are too advanced for the plant people. The villain calls them all dumb pieces of meat as Steve asks Reed if he's got any ideas, but the genius doesn't. However, he has called in a specialist. A ship soon arrives and the Profiteer disembarks. The kids and the rest of the Fantastic Four are ready for a fight with the Warlord as Alicia is filled in on just who the evil woman is. Sue asks why Reed would send for her help, and Reed says that they are all perfectly safe there with the Avengers as backup, and besides, they need her expertise. The Profiteer is given one of the Kotati weapons, finding it to be one of great craftsmanship. She says that she will be able to tell where it comes from, but for a price. However, right now, she has work to do. Thor tires of these games, saying that if his nephew and his Kotati are no longer of further use, he thinks they have suffered their company long enough. Hulkling agrees, so he releases the Kotati and Sequoia into Thor's care. The villain immediately tries to attack Thor, but the god anticipated as much, having Sue trap him in a force field. Thor asks if anyone else will be joining him and Sue, so the Invisible Woman convinces her son to come, teleporting them to a new planet, which Thor says will be the Kotati's new home, far away from Earth, Skrullos, and Hala, and everyone else they have harmed. Qui is outraged that the heroes would just leave him and his people on a desolate rock, but Thor tells him to be patient, talking about how he was recently blessed with the power of his mother Gaia. Unleashing her power on the world, Thor covers the planet in a lush forest, hoping this gift will be more to his nephew's liking. Qui says that it is, as he is freed from his prison, letting the man learn that they have been left in uncharted space with no maps or ships or a way back to any of them on Earth. Franklin meanwhile asks Thor about his journey to get the extra godlike power, asking why he would just give it all up like that. Thor says that power doesn't make one godlike, and he would sacrifice all of his might 1,000 times over if it was spent in the service of a worthy cause. He tells the boy that goodness in their hearts is what makes them truly gods, heroes, and good men, opening a portal, telling Franklin and Sue that their work is done and that they have family awaiting them. As the Unseen watches silently, Captain Marvel takes the heroes into the tunnels Raxor and Beldan lived in, carrying the dead Kree and Skrulls' ashes in special jars. Wolverine remembers battling them in the tunnels once, and Reed remembers him and the Inhumans running into them at Black Bolt's wedding. Nakkala knows that the Fantastic Four beat them that time through deception, which isn't honorable, but Jo-Ven says that in the end, the defeat made them stronger and made the two men unify, and that's how this story ends, as Carol and Reed pour out their ashes, combining them as one. Jo-Ven asks Ben what he's supposed to do now, but the man says that he himself had once big plans, but the cosmic rays that turned him into a rock creature threw him for a loop, but they also took his life in a new direction, and when he finally saw it, he wouldn't trade it in for anything. He tells the boy to decide for himself what he wants to be. As outside, Peter and Johnny finally catch up, learning Peter and Logan actually took the kids to Disneyland on the way to the moon, which is why they were late. Talk turns to Johnny's apparent soulmate in Sky, and Peter isn't happy his friend never told him. Johnny says that it's complicated, and while Sky is 100% sure they are meant to be soulmates, he's not so sure, since how is someone supposed to know that sort of stuff? Peter doesn't know since it's been on and off with him with Mary Jane, but Johnny is glad to see that they are now back together, and so is Peter Peter, told that a planet or universe didn't need to set them up, but Peter knows that he had something much stronger, his Aunt May. Profiteer meanwhile finishes up her investigation, revealing to the gathered heroes that she doesn't actually know where the weapon is from. Carol isn't too pleased with the waste of time, but Profiteer says that information is valuable, since the power in the weapons isn't something new, it's something very ancient, predating even her and the elders of the universe. Because of this, she demands that she take all of the weapon's power sources as her payment, along with the Kree and Skrull children. All of the heroes are vehemently against this, but the Profiteer reveals that the original contract she made states that since they are born as soldiers, and the deal she made with Colonel Calator and General Baz, the children are to be raised together and taught to fight one another, but both can't be raised on Kree and Skrull planets. But with her, she acts as a neutral party between the two factions. Because of this, it means the children are rightfully her property. The Avengers assemble to protect the children, as the Profiteer says that being the Kree and Skrulls are her best clients, the last thing they want to do is break her contracts. Hulkling, however, says different, taking the contract and says the Profiteer is right, except for the fact that there are no Kree or Skrull empires anymore, since they are all one alliance now. Hulkling breaks the contract, telling the alien Karen he's taking his business elsewhere. Profiteer leaves empty-handed as Val and Franklin welcome the children to come stay with them. Hulkling thinks that's not a bad idea, knowing that there's no better home for them to be in, so raising his sword, he makes it a royal decree that Jo-Ven and Nakkala will be put into the care of the Richards family. Sue says that they would be honored, but Hulkling knows that they misunderstand him, saying that he wants Ben and Alicia Grimm to look after them. Ben asks his wife what she thinks, and Alicia says she wants this more than anything, so Ben asks the kids if they would be alright being part of the Grimm family. Nakkala is more than happy, diving on Alicia as Jo-Ven accepts Ben as his commanding officer. The heroes gather one last time to say their goodbyes as they all leave the moon. The Unseen, meanwhile, finds some leftover Kotati weaponry, wondering who provided them these powerful weapons. He uses his powers to show him, knowing the Profiteer wasn't lying and the power does come from the first race. Suddenly his power shoots from his eye as Uatu the Watcher returns to life, freeing Nick Fury from his service. Nick asks how this is even possible, as the one-eyed Watcher says that there shall be a reckoning. Empire Fallout Fantastic Four issue 1 was a brilliant cap-off to an otherwise fantastic Marvel summer event that tied up many of the Fantastic Four-centric plotlines and teased some even bigger things coming to the Marvel Universe over the next year. I really enjoyed seeing what was to become of Sequoia, and I love that he wasn't imprisoned per se, he was given a second chance at a life, and so were the Kotati. Again, I really wish that the Thor tie-in was left included, since yet again it became quite an important piece of the story, so again it boggles the mind why that was actually cut. The children becoming part of the Fantastic Four family was kind of a given, but I love that they were given to Ben and Alicia to look after as their own. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch unfold in the Fantastic Four ongoing. The ending, which finally sees Uatu and even Nick Fury make a full return, was absolutely surprising, and I didn't see that coming at all, and I'm excited to see where that story goes and what it leads to, since Uatu's warning at the end was quite ominous. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.